Is binge watching TV bad for you? Could binge watching even be dangerous? The answer is yes. If you're watching this video, I assume that you, like me, have binge watched something before. But I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to tell you the dark truth about binge watching and provide some humorous skits along the way, or at least I think they're funny. Binge watching is a relatively new phenomenon. Before streaming services, you couldn't exactly binge watch shows like you do now because TV would air on a set schedule. But streaming services changed everything. At first, a lot of people thought binge watching was actually a good thing. But now that binge watching has been around for over a decade, the studies coming out about binge watching are not great. It's actually pretty bad. I'm warning you, I do not hold back in this video. It's kind of a lot. As previously mentioned, this video contains skits. Viewer discretion is advised for the stupidity you're about to witness. Oh, I can't wait for my favorite show. Is it 8 yet?
One of my shows dropped today.
Oh, my show is on!
Hey, Jameson,
Not now, my show is on. Ask me at 9.
Hey, Jameson.
Yeah? Commercial break, I can use the bathroom! The commercials are over, I'm not ready! What did I miss? What did I miss? I can't wait till next week.
Play next.
Yeah, that was crazy when the father was actually... I'll talk to you more about it tomorrow.
Next episode.
Wasn't yesterday's episode crazy? The alien father. The alien father! I can't wait until next week. The alien father.
I was up till 3 in the morning watching that new show on Netflix.
I'm so tired.
Was the show good?
So good.
What was it even about? Honestly, I can't even remember.
Back in the days of early TV, when most households got 3 channels and people were at the mercy of whatever show was being aired, there was 1 show per time slot. You know, regular network TV. Some of these early TV shows were bangers, such as I Love Lucy, The Twilight Zone, and Leave It to Beaver. But it's not like those shows were created with binging in mind. A new episode was released once a week, and if you missed it, you missed it, unless they ran a rerun. Can you imagine binging something like Leave It to Beaver? Actually, my mother binge watched the entire series. As television became more established, it's not like networks made binging a show impossible. The earliest of TV binges, the geriatric TV binges, if you will, were called marathons. They weren't binges in the traditional sense. Marathons were typically television blocks of programming that ran for extended periods of time. The earliest of marathons were Christmas themed in the 1960s, and they just showed a bunch of Christmas movies on Christmas Day. Other shows such as Star Trek experimented with airing several episodes one after another. In the 1990s, marathons gained a lot of popularity, but networks didn't do marathons so people could binge watch. Binge watching wasn't a thing yet. Networks would air marathons for celebratory, promotional, or perhaps sinister reasons. They might do a marathon for a celebration, like 100 episodes. Or if a network realized they had a dud and they were contractually obligated to show a certain number of episodes of that show before the contract expired, they might have a marathon just to get it over with and then move on with their lives. You know, I mean, that one was a little bit shady, but that did happen. Home media. Box sets paved the way for modern TV binges. Pre-streaming service, people could buy box sets of shows or a bunch of movies in a series and watch them at home. So in the early 2000s-ish, binge watching began to appear in its current form. Except nobody really called it binge watching back then. To most people, it was still a marathon. Plus, box sets were expensive. You were essentially paying for every episode individually. With streaming, it's a lot easier to binge watch because you don't have to buy every episode ever of a TV show. So at that time, it wasn't common for people to spend one weekend watching 21 episodes of a TV season. Some people did it, but it was a pretty niche practice, and honestly, if you were doing that at that time, people thought you were a loser. Streaming services. The first streaming service is considered to be not Netflix. I bet you thought it was Netflix. The first streaming service is actually considered to be YouTube. YouTube, the thing that we're on right now? YouTube launched in 2005 and allowed people to stream videos on the internet. But how do I say this nicely? Nobody on early YouTube knew what they were doing. It was a lot of homemade content, just like this video. YouTube wasn't exactly filled with high quality television shows, and I loved every second of early YouTube, okay? Does anybody remember Fred? Oh, you were trying to forget Fred. Well, I thought Fred was funny, okay? YouTube helped popularize some concepts such as streaming video online and, I don't know, thumbsing up videos. And yes, this is a very awkward transition of me asking you to thumbs up this video because the higher the view to like ratio, the more people YouTube shows this video to. I mean, just please thumbs up the video. I have 109 subscribers. Long story short, traditional media jumped into the streaming thing. Netflix launched in 2007, and other streaming services soon joined, eventually forming the multitude of streaming services that we have today. Back in the day, TV networks had their shows, and streaming services like Netflix bought the rights for entire series that had previously been aired on television. When someone subscribed to a streaming service, they had access to tons of series at an affordable price. From that point on, binge watching became inevitable. Let's break down the reasons why. Network TV shows aired once a week. They needed to break for commercial every 6 to 7 minutes? And every commercial had a mini cliffhanger to keep you engaged so you didn't click away during the ad break. But then these TV shows wanted you to come back the next week, which is a big ask, so they'd often leave you on a big cliffhanger, so you were dying to find out what happened next. So with tons of these shows now available to the masses, let's imagine this generic example for a second. It is your first time on a streaming service. Episodes that were meant to be viewed once a week are now available back to back. You finish an episode of a show and there's an autoplay function for the next episode. Nobody's going to stop you. You know you should do something else, but you don't. You binge to the next episode, baby! Streaming services realized that people were binging TV shows as a consumption pattern. Streaming services started launching original shows, and binge watch they did. Consequences. The concept of binging media isn't exactly new. Binging has always existed with books. You hand somebody a book, and it's like giving them an entire season of a TV show all at once. It's not like in the 1700s, people read one chapter of a book per week and let it last like 12 weeks. No, they read it immediately all at the same time. When binge watching was new, a lot of experts thought that binge watching might be a superior way of watching television, kind of like reading a bunch of chapters of a book at once. But binge reading is different from binge watching. Nobody's calling out the negative effects of binge reading. In fact, when I was in elementary school, the elementary school used to reward binge readers by giving them free Pizza Hut. The point is, streaming TV shows allowed them to be binged in the same way that books were previously binged forever. The question we have to ask ourselves is, does binge reading have any negative consequences? And the truth is, I don't care. I didn't look into it. Do you know why? Because when I would get free Pizza Hut in elementary school for binge reading over the summer, I decided not to question reading in any capacity. So bring on the books and bring on the pizza. But binge watching, it turns out, is bad.
Damn it. What do you want? I'm busy. How long have you been watching Netflix? I don't know, like 6 hours? Do you want to I don't know, do something else? Do something else? I want to know how this show ends. We could go to the park. I have to know how this ends. You didn't even know how it began 6 hours ago. But now I have to know how this ends. But I only have 15 episodes left? 14? I don't know, don't remind me. I can't bear the thought of Carla not being in my life anymore. Carla? The fictional character on the TV? I stan Carla. You know she's not real, right? Does that actually matter? For fiction, it's just a concept. Oh, I stand for Carla. Dan. Okay, I'm sorry. This is gonna be for your own good. Hey, there's a whole world out there that's not Netflix. But all I care about is if Carla asks Jacob out. No one's gonna ask you, a real person, out because all you do is watch Netflix all day. But I'm on Tinder, so I can watch Netflix and get asked out at the same time. Go outside, explore the world. Wait, hold on. What? Is that grass under my feet? Remember life before your Netflix binge? Do you hear the birds? Real life was so long ago. Such a distant memory. Exactly. And now that I'm outside, do you know what my senses are telling me? That you want to go to the park with me? No. My senses are telling me that I don't care about anything in this world except how the show ends. Now give me back my phone so I can watch Netflix.
Before we get more into the negative impacts of binge watching, I want to pose a question. Why does anybody actually binge watch? For example, why do you binge watch? The answer is because it's fun, right? Binge watching is fun. A binge watch is classified as watching 2 to 6 episodes of a show in a row. I feel like that's a pretty low bar. Like, if you're watching 2 separate 21-minute episodes, that's a binge watch. But if you watch one of the longer episodes of Stranger Things, that's not a binge watch. Like, I don't really understand this definition, but again, I didn't make it up. According to Northwestern Medicine, binge watching releases dopamine in your brain, which produces a high similar to, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube. Maybe if I, alter my voice, I can say, okay.
drugs.
Your brain craves more dopamine the more that you binge watch. The longer that you binge watch, the longer you want to continue binge watching. And when you binge watch as a regular activity, your brain kind of rewrites itself to crave that dopamine achieved from binge watching. And therefore, binge watching becomes a habit instead of a marathon-esque type of event. This is to say that when binge watching becomes your regular form of television consumption, you might not just limit yourself to binge watching shows that you love. You might start binge watching shows that you just kind of like. Then there's the concerning element of distraction. According to the American Marketing Association, the further a person is in a binge watch session, the less effect an advertisement will have on them. NPR states that casual television viewers engage with advertisements at a much higher rate than binge watchers. So why is that, and what does that mean? It's not just that if a binge session includes ads, that binge watchers are seeing more ads in general and then the ads become forgettable. What researchers have actually found is that the further somebody is in a binge watch session, the less they want to think about the outside world. I have an entire video that discusses narrative transportation theory, and it's actually my worst video on the channel. But the longer somebody is in a binge watch session, the more immersed they tend to be. And when they see an advertisement, or perhaps anything real world related when they're in La La Land, the less engaged they are with it because they want to be immersed in the fictional show that they're seeing. But we've all done it, right? We've all binge watched, especially when the definition of binge watching starts at 2 episodes. I'm also guilty of the 6 episode definition, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. So is all binge watching bad? Because it's not all the same, right? From what I could find, there isn't a clear definition on the different types of binge watching patterns, but studies have identified different groups of binge watchers. Some people binge watch to appreciate a show, like the marathoners during the TV days of old. Others occasionally binge watch a show if they're extremely interested in it. That's the camp that I'm in. And some people who are addicted to the dopamine rush simply binge a TV show just to binge. Those most likely to binge tend to feel as if they have the least amount of control over their own lives. Some psychologists believe that people may even disconnect from their human nature and instead replace that with virtual relationships because it's easier to do that than to put yourself out there. According to psychologist Judy Rosenberg, quote, "We are wired to connect, and when we disconnect from humans and overconnect to TV at the cost of human connection, eventually we will starve to death emotionally. Real relationships and the work of life is more difficult. If you binge watch on a regular basis, it can lead you into a cycle where people substitute real connections with a fictional character, become lonelier in the process, and then essentially starve themselves for their actual human emotional needs." And this is the worst thing I found with all my research. But the reason why people who binge watch the most tend to feel like they have the least amount of control over their lives is because by binge watching, they feel as if they have control over something. But what ends up happening is people actually end up making their lives worse.
Oh my god. This random guy on the internet just exposed me. Now I feel like crap. I feel like worse than crap. I went on YouTube because I was bored. But now I'm sad. Too sad. But you know what? We'll forget about this YouTube video and any impact it might have had on us tomorrow. Probably. That's how YouTube. But right now, in this moment, I feel like a loser. I am never binge watching anything ever again. Ever again. Swear it. It's sworn, okay? It's sworn. Never. My life changes today. Did you hear about that new farming show on Netflix? No. Are all the episodes out?
The truth is, I love my occasional binge watch. There's layers to binge watching, and I didn't mean to make anybody feel bad with what I just said if they were thinking about themselves and then applying what I said to themselves, and I think I'm making it worse. Now let's flip the coin over a little bit. Is binge watching completely bad? Is it 100% trash? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. No, there's some benefits to binge watching. I mean, everything's complicated. Welcome to planet Earth. While binge watching, we're often able to learn about people we might not encounter in our daily lives. We can relax and actually form strong bonds with people in real life if we can relate to them over a television show. The impacts of binge watching are very complicated, and as I said earlier, there doesn't seem to be a ton of definitive evidence on it, but overall, everything they found out seems to be pretty bad, okay? Anyway, I have a video on my channel about narrative transportation theory and how seeing a story can make you feel like you went somewhere else. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's the absolute worst video on my channel, but it does exist on my channel. One video has to be the worst, and that one took one for the team, but I also have this other video that the algorithm thinks you'll like. If you learned absolutely nothing from this video and you want to binge my other videos, just click on one of these other two next. And if not, but you liked me, subscribe and come back tomorrow.